This thing on? I like to test my equipment before I get going. I know it's a little late, guys, but that's just how I work, man. Whenever there's something to do, I gotta do it. Yeah. Hold on. Is it even on? Is it even working? There I am. I know it's a little late, guys, but that's just how I work, man. Whenever there's something to do, I got. All right, I heard myself. Now I know I'm working. that's how I know it works. I hear myself for the first 5 seconds. How's it going, guys? Welcome to everybody. This is Shaney Entertaining coming at you live from Toronto, Canada. Talking about Endgame today, guys. I finally watched it. Actually, I can't say I finally watched it because I actually watched it on Friday. But it took this long to kind of gather my thoughts, as I had a lot of I don't know. It's one of those movies that I thought about. I had to think about to see whether or not how I felt, because I felt a lot of different emotions. And that when a movie gets you too emotional, you kind of like all over the place. That you kind of like, how do I feel about it? Because there was just too many emotions for me to feel. If you feel a certain way, does that mean you like the movie or you don't like the movie? You understand what I mean? Um, I guess the more I discuss the movie, the more you realize what I'm talking about. Because emotions are a great thing in a movie, but when you're left on a high, it's great. But when you're left on a low, how are you supposed to feel? And that's kind of where I fit in this. So I'm gonna wait to see a little bit longer, see if anybody shows. If not, it won't matter because I'm gonna do it anyway, and people will just have to see it in the future. Speaking of future, a lot of Back to the Future mentioning in this movie. Oh, and just FYI, in case you guys hadn't realized, there are probably going to be some spoilers here, um, because that's what it is. I'm not going to be recapturing the entire movie or recounting the movie. I don't like why people do that. It's like, if you haven't seen the movie, you don't need you probably don't want me to spoil that much that I have to retell them the whole movie. And if you haven't seen them, and if you have seen the movie, well, even doubly don't need me to go through the entire movie because you already saw it. So I never understood why people sit there and they go, so this is what happens in the beginning, so scene one, and then they just tell you what happens. And I'm like, dude, if they didn't see the movie, they probably want to see the movie at some point. And if they didn't, then maybe we'll do that type of a breakdown analysis of scene by scene in a future date. But it's too early for that kind of stuff. That you can do with Mahler, who likes to give you the 5 hours of every 3 months. He gives you a 5 hour breakdown of every little scene. And at this scene, come on, movie, they actually just fought on camera. I mean, come on. That's my Mahler impersonation. So anyway, so I'm going to start now because it's kind of Sunday and late, so a lot of people are probably sleeping. It don't matter to me, one way or the other. So here's the deal. I left this theater. I watched Endgame. Sorry, I watched Infinity War right before I went to go watch this movie because I wanted it fresh. I wanted to go into one movie and say, okay, did this happen? And just reassured me just how amazing Infinity War was. It was just such a freaking awesome movie, and it was like a near perfect movie for me. Now I know there was a lot of plot holes and not plot holes, but there's certain nitpicks you could do with that movie because there's just so many things happening. So just like a lot of things like, why did they do this? Why didn't they do that? Why did they just let Star-Lord, punch him when they almost had him? Why couldn't someone hold him down? There was a lot of things that I just thought they could have done, and was like, well, whatever. It's in the end the kind of movie that there's such a big cast that there's just, from directorial and writing perspective, it's almost hard to make a perfect everything sync exactly the way it's supposed to sync. So that's what I think about that, for those kind of holes. In a movie that vast and that large, where you have so many characters and so much to do, you got to forgive some of that stuff, especially if they get so much stuff right, and they do. In the Infinity War, they get so much stuff like freaking just awesome, and I can't. And I'm a comic book fan, so they just did that. And I know that a lot of people nitpick at what they did to certain characters, and how come this guy? And it's just, again, just got to sometimes sometimes you can't be too nitpicky, especially when something is so grand. And I think the Russo brothers did a fantastic job with that. And then they left you kind of going, why did you do it to Spider-Man? Like, if Spider-Man, you go watch Spider-Man, just going, Tony, I don't feel so good, Tony. And it was just like, bravo, give this little kid an award. He's wonderful. Look at him. That just ripped your heart out of your chest watching that thing just boom, 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 boom. Right? So, that was just a fantastic scene. And so you felt the gravity of the loss, even with Scarlet Witch when she has to destroy the Infinity Stone in what do you call it, Vision's head, which was going to kill him. And she did it only to have him brought back alive just to see him die again. Was just like, wow, that's just intense. And it just shows you just how deep and dark that was at the end. It was just such a massive, like, shocking ending, and just so much darker than anything else the MCU has ever done. Which is why at the end, if you watch my review of that movie, I was kind of like, I loved it from an adult standpoint, but from a kid standpoint, a child there was like a kid watching the movie right next to me and watching him blubber and going, why would you do this? Like, he literally did that. And I've said this a few times, that he literally cried, why would you do this to my character? Like, and I almost cried because he was just bawling. And I felt like, Disney, at some point, you got to give a little hope to that kid. I mean, as an adult, you love that. But then you think to yourself, how would you have reacted to that if you were a kid? Would you have reacted it the same way as you reacted that to as an adult? And that's kind of where I'm like in the middle of, and my adult me, the adult Shane in me says, 2 thumbs up, amazing, brilliant movie. I loved it. But then there's a part that was like, if I was a kid and I saw this, that would have devastated me. And so that's where I kind of feel like there's sort of a disconnect between, sometimes you can get too dark. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have ended it like that. I'm just saying that they should have at least given a little hope at the end of that movie. So anyway, that's the Infinity War movie. And so it's important for me because it kind of also ties into why this movie for me made me feel this way, because I already went into this movie feeling really kind of like despair, because like that's how it ends. It ends with despair. It ends with this, so I'm already feeling this. And for I don't know how many years it was between movies, but you've been itching you're just like an Avenger, right? We're sitting here going, oh, I want to get that head of Thanos. Thanos. I think every Marvel fan just wanted to take down Thanos. And we were just like, give me that bastard. I just want that bastard. Going into this movie, I think for me personally, when I went into this movie, I was just like, once you get to the credits, just get to Thor, just smash in the face of Thanos. I don't care about any of that other stuff. Just get to the smashing of Thanos' face and bringing them back, because that's all I wanted to see. That's just me, like just the inside of me, just like, I don't care. I just want to see that happen. And obviously you have to have a movie somewhere in between, and some characters and some writing and some plots and some fights and some funny stuff. But it kind of was just like 3 hours. Well, that's too long, man. Get to that damn scene. I just want to get there. I wish I had a time traveling machine just to get to those scenes that I wanted to see. Because for me, that's kind of where I was at. I felt like, okay, I'm going to give you right now the no spoiler stuff. Brilliant movie. Again, from an adult perspective. And that's what I'm going to give you, my adult perspective, because that's what I am most of the time. It is a superb movie. It ends the way it should. And it is a satisfying ending for me. That was the good. When it was awesome, it was just the most awesome thing you could ever see. It had like several really hardcore, just superhero moments that you're just like, yeah, you almost catch yourself screaming in the theater, yeah, and applauding. There was a lot of applauding going on in that theater. And And then there was just some really dramatic, heart wrenching, just Spider-Man crying. I can't, type of stuff in that movie that just it just made you just bawl, which is why I mean like your emotions are so imbalanced. You're like you start off down here, you go a little in the middle, you go up here, and then you go back down here, and then you're back over here, and then you're back down here. It's just the whole movie. You're kind of all over the place, and I think that's kind of what made me really take pause in this movie towards the end, because when I'm trying to come up with my analysis, was because to separate the logical conclusion of whether it was a good movie and then say what I felt does that make it any less of a good movie? Um, because here's the thing. Technically, it was a sound movie. Yes, I found a few imperfections in certain things, but in a movie this large, again, I have to forgive certain things. They have a certain amount of time to make a movie. There's only two guys doing it, and you got a zillion characters, a zillion things to do, CGI staff, all this crap. It's really hard, and to get it all perfect is almost impossible. So I give them credit for that. There was the beginning of the movie, again, starts off dark. And that's, to me, was obviously because it's the way the movie ends. It has to start the way it ended, which was dark. So it's not a surprise. But that darkness then gets really pretty dark. I mean, like children fading dark. It's pretty dark. And then it gets still even more darker with Tony on the ship. And then a little light happens. And that light comes from the most despised her person in the world. So you're kind of mixed and matched by that one, because you're like, okay, yes, something good happened here. And then you're like, oh, but it was you. And I'm not spoiling it just yet. So they're just giving everybody an out if they feel like they need one. So that kind of made drop down the yes moment just a tad, because I just and it wasn't the character. Well, it was the character, but not exactly the character. It was just who was the character, and it just went down, and then a little back up again to back down again, because a whole bunch of stuff happens up and down. But then at some point in this movie, it kind of goes flatlines, and I mean, like, just it sort of goes, hey, let's take a sitcom premise and yeah, I know. Hey, reimagining Star Wars. How you doing, buddy? Yeah, I don't care. It's late. I'm not going to sleep for a while, and I kind of understand people might not be up for this thing, but I had to get this off my chest because it's been holding on to it for too long. So I finally got an opportunity to say it and some free time, and so I'm taking my time and taking my chance. So yeah. So what I was saying, so it kind of flatlines. I'm doing the by the way, if you just started watching this now, I see two more people came in. I'm doing my non-spoiler review. So right now, hey, entertainment hacker, how's it going, bud? Father-in-law is here. Just wanted to stop and draw. Cool, man. No problem. Glad that you just dropped by. It's always fun seeing you here. So I'm just doing a flat line. So I'm sorry. I'm just doing my non-spoiler review at first. Then I'm going to get into the juicy stuff, because the juicy stuff is juicy. So yeah, middle of the movie, kind of second act of this movie kind of goes. Entertainment hackers are always family stuff. Yeah, I know, but families. You got two kids, so it's, 2 kids and some family. It's a hard thing. I get it. But anyway, yeah. So there's a point in this movie, like I said, the second act of this movie kind of just, for me, while it was fun, kind of made the movie sort of dead, because it's just like, here you go. It's kind of fun, but it was like a sitcom premise, something that I've already seen in other movies. And well, I understand why they did it, and I'll get into more detail later. I just sort of felt like this kind of just dragged the movie a little bit. And while it was still fun and entertaining, you have to understand my emotion here was just like, I just want this Thanos guy done. I just want things to be back as they were. So I'm kind of sitting here very impatient with all this bouncing around stuff, and I'm just like, guys, I just don't care about all this. Let's just get to it. Maybe that's just me. But anyway, that stuff was it was fun, but I think not as good as the other stuff in the movie. And so and also I found also the darkness aspects of this movie ran on for a little bit too long, because I know that they really wanted to like hit home how it felt to be like how it felt to have half the world gone, and how depressing it was, and how it wasn't the perfect world. And I understood that, but I don't think that they needed to go on that long with it, just because it's already a 33-hour long movie, and it didn't. And I think a lot of those scenes, like there's one particular couple of scenes where I just thought, it's not really entertaining. It's not giving me anything interesting in this segment here. It's just sort of trying to, again, beat a dead horse that I already know, because I already feel it, and I felt it after watching Infinity War. So I already know how dark it is. My life has been darkness without them since then, anyway. So my life has been darkness since the Last Jedi. So um, so I'm just been waiting for the good stuff. So anyway, that runs a little bit too long. Then it kind of gets a little bit up and down, has some fun stuff, but in the end, it kind of felt the second act kind of felt a little bit tacked on. And I get it. They were trying. I think that they were doing it because they had a lot of actors that they wanted to get through, and it felt like the season finale of a long running series. You know what I mean? Sometimes they just try to get every character, like the Seinfeld ending. Do you remember that? And they had that courtroom sequence, and they had like every character had to go up in the courtroom and speak. And it was just sort of felt like we just have to get every character that has ever been in this sequence, so this way everybody's served. So that's kind of why I think for me it bogged down, because I think it felt like they were just trying to say goodbye or give everyone their special mention. So that's kind of why I think the middle of the second act kind of goes on for too long. But and that's why it makes for kind of a weaker film than Infinity War, in my opinion. But it makes up for it with the third act, because once the third act happens, you just all that is forgotten. Because the minute the third act happens, then just it's satisfying. It's just amazing. It's awesome. And I was just like multiple times just taken aback, just really, really, really just fantastically like satisfied with it. And just, yeah, I think I yelled yeah a few times in the theater. So, and then, yeah, the ending is the ending. And so left me, here's where it gets kind of confusing for me, is because again, the ending leaves me sort of on a down note. And for multiple reasons, and not all of it is actually in the movie. The down note sort of makes me feel, because I know what's happening next, and that kind of left me even more down than the movie itself. So, and I'll get into that with the spoiler section of my video. So, all in all, I'm going to end this with my what I believe, like the number I'm going to give it as a movie, as a comic book movie. As a comic book movie, it's not as good as Infinity War. All right. It's just because it was just too many things it was trying to do, and it kind of got sloppy, and it was all over the place at some point, and it wasn't as tight. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, whereas I gave Infinity War a good 9.5 out of 10. 10 for me, you have to be perfect. I don't even know what a 10 is, but definitely 9.5 was Infinity War. This one, I'm giving it an 8, a good solid 8. And just because those sequences were just so fantastic and well directed. And surprise, surprise, guys, Captain Marvel didn't screw it up. She didn't help it. But she didn't screw it up. And the times when she was on screen, I am convinced that Brie Larson isn't a human being, by the way. I feel she is an automaton robot, because I don't. Oh, you got a 7? You give it a 7? You saw it, right? I mean, yeah, it had flaws, right? It wasn't a perfect movie. For me, it was like, it had flaws, but for me, it was sort of um, saved because of the fact I give it a lot of leeway. It was really hard to pull this off. There was so much they wanted to do, and so I kind of grading it on that kind of a curve, if you know what I'm saying. Like, it's not like this is a movie where they just had freedom to do whatever. They had to cover a lot of bases, and because of that, I feel like they did the best they possibly could. There were certain things that I think we could talk about when we get to non-spoiler stuff that sort of makes it those imperfections. But so now I'm going to get into spoilers, guys. And so I'm going to go into 3, 2, 1, and then I'm going to spoil a whole bunch of stuff. So 3, 2, 1. Ready? Iron Man dies. Suckers. I told you. I warned you. I'm just letting you all know that. Character arcs. Okay, so reimagining Star Wars says character arcs for the big two really good. Yes, of course. Yeah, the way Tony Stark. So I'm just gonna go all over the place on this, just so you guys know. We're just gonna have a discussion. I'm not doing the recap, just not doing that. So we're just gonna have discussions of what I liked, and it could go all over the place. Yes, character arcs for the big two, Captain America and Iron Man, were just phenomenal. I was actually almost convinced because just how Disney's kind of been disappointing us lately. I actually thought they were going to kill him off in the beginning of the movie in this ship when he's losing oxygen, and Tony Stark and I think what's her name, the blue chick, Nebula. They were lost in space for a while, and then he's like he just couldn't breathe. And then I thought actually he had died, and I thought, oh, they're not gonna Luke Skywalker. Don't tell me they Luke Skywalker him or just had him fade away like that would be shit. I'm like, please don't do that. And they didn't, thankfully. Although when you find out who actually saves him, kind of pisses me off a little bit, just because of who it was. Not it could have been anybody, but it really doesn't matter. So Captain Marvel comes in and just and she looks. Here's the thing: the moment is always ruined by Brie Larson. And I'm not saying it's Captain Marvel, the character, but Brie Larson, the actress. I am convinced she does not know how to smile. She flies up to the front of to see like, the view screen or whatever, right to the front, and she does this. Like she has no. Ever seen Archie Bunker? Ever watched that show? Archie Bunker, he doesn't smile, he smirks. She smirks. She doesn't know how to smile. She goes like a robot. This is my impression of Brie Larson, the whole movie. I'm stronger. Like dude, can you just smile, show some teeth? Like even when she's smiling, it's just like Data. Ever watched Star Wars or Star Trek? Data smiling, like you can't like it's like you almost can hear the sound effect of her skin stretching. It's just like you're trying to work in a brand new baseball glove. It just the leather just because Jesus, can't you be normal? Can't you be a human for 5 minutes? Oh yeah, Captain Deus Ex Machina. That's another one. She was always what she was. Reimagining Star Wars. She reminded me of ever play video games and like remember there's that power move that you have that you just save for specific times and then just like you get into trouble and then boom, you use that super power move and then wipes the whole board clean and then you keep fighting. Remember that's what she was in this movie. She was just Deus Ex Machina, fighting move, like special move, Captain Marvel. And she comes in, clears the level, and then takes off again. That's kind of what she was. She was kind of annoying when she was on screen, because she can't get out of herself for 5 minutes, and then she doesn't feel like even herself and her own personality doesn't feel like it almost doesn't feel like she even wants to belong there. She almost singles herself out by her actions. So I just it's just weird. And then you realize how powerful in this movie. Yeah, fatality, Captain Marvel. So she comes in, there's a couple of fatalities and leaves, which was fine as far as the movie was concerned because it's just like everyone. And I even seen girls, which like I almost gagged, but little girls who were watching it behind me were just like, "Oh, Captain Marvel," and I was like, "Oh, please stop!" I almost did that Jim Carrey, holding in your bile. But anyway, so that happens. Now the thing with me is this: a lot of this movie, like I said, the second act, the problems with it are within the second act because of the fact that it's just like now we're gonna go get the Tesseracts and we're gonna go get all the different pieces of the Infinity Stone because although it was very satisfying to see Thor chop Thanos' head off, that was great. That was a wonderful scene, and I just wished it happened in the last movie, but it happened in this one. But then after to see him fat 5 years later, the 5 years later thing kind of bugs me just because it's like that also made them like we kind of built ourselves up to a certain point and then was like 5 years later. And I'm like, what? What? And so now let's go into that. Where's this guy? And where's this guy going? And what's this guy doing? And what's this guy doing? So it kind of became a whole brand new type of movie, like a brand new beginning. So the beginning began again. And then so I'm just like, all right, they just give up. The Avengers give up. Okay, sort of. I mean, some never do, but a lot of them did, which kind of sort of annoyed me. The person who I would least expect to give up, kind of Luke Skywalkered a little bit, where he became this Thor again. Spoilers, guys. He becomes this fat guy playing video games with his rock friend on and they're just sort of like drinking, becoming a drunk pot belly. It kind of annoyed me a little bit, just because I don't see Thor doing that in my mind. But whatever, it didn't hurt too much just because he does come back to himself, so at least it's all right. And he did suffer quite a bit, and I could see him sort of going down a little bit that path. So, I mean, if you lose your entire planet, your mother, your father, your brother, all your friends, everybody's pretty much gone. I could see that, but I feel like that kind of stuff with Thor lasted too long as well. Like he wallowed. First of all, when they came in, another little qualm I have, when they came in to try and recruit him and get him back on board, he fought hard and he was emotional, and you kind of felt that emotion that like he just didn't want to fail again. He doesn't want false hope. And I kind of understood that from his perspective. Don't give me false hope because, I don't know if we could do it. And then just to get him on board because of beer sort of felt like, really? We're doing that little joke now? Because I felt like you guys were trying to go serious with it. And then you go with the whole, well, what type of beer? Like he's like, we've got beer on board. He's like, what kind of beer? So beer gets you there. That's your emotional trauma doesn't get you into the door, and revenge doesn't get you in the door. But Avengers Premium Pale Ale apparently gets you into the ship, into the plan. So that kind of was a little bit of a, like, again, there's little minor things that kind of annoyed me. Again, with the sort of over comedy stuff that sometimes aren't warranted, because if you're trying to go into this dark thing, then finish that. Don't cop out on it, which I felt that sort of was. Where Ronan, which is, sorry guys, for people who don't know, Hawkeye turns into Ronan. So when you see him in the comics, he's actually Ronan, and in the new Avengers series, in the comics, Ronan, he actually turns into a full ninja, and he's called Ronan, and he actually goes off half-cocked and murdering people in the comics. That was straight out of the comics. And I liked his sort of his and Scarlett Johansson or Black Widow's sort of thing where she tries to get him because he has a legit gripe, man. He's just pissed, like his whole family falls into dust. So that was extremely powerful to see him just say, why do you guys get to live? Why do these evil guys get to live? And so he's just going buck nuts. And I really liked his I feel like this is probably his best movie, or his character's best movie that he was in. And even to get him to go aboard, I even like what he said, don't give me false hope, which was just like, yeah, he just wants to know that this is a legit thing. I thought Ant-Man was treated like shit in this movie for no reason. I didn't understand that. He uses comic relief when it was actually his stinking, like he gets like no credit for the fact that it was his he was the one who actually brought hope to this whole world. Again, he's stuck in the past. He's stuck, sorry, in the what do you call it? That universe, the quantum realm. And then so that doesn't affect him. And then when he comes back, some people are dead, some people are alive, but he sees like, 5 years later, and he's just like looking at the world like in a post-apocalyptic thing. And then he sort of has this idea of maybe we can use the technology to go back in time and save people. And then everyone just sort of shits on him the whole movie long, like he's garbage. Like there's like one scene where it's like he's just eating a taco and just like almost just like this like slobbers all over the floor. Like, dude, like give him credit, man. And it's funny because in the comics he's such a respectable character, and then they just in this MCU, I don't know if it's Paul Rudd himself that's doing this, or who likes this, or just his personality lends to this. I don't know, but this whole schmuck thing, I feel, especially in this one where he legitimately was the guy who brought hope to the Avengers. It was him alone who got there with his idea that everyone scoffed at, but eventually led to Tony doing what he had to do to make it actually work. And for that, he kind of got shit on a bit too much, and I kind of didn't like that, that kind of stuff to that character personally. But Tony Stark is fantastic. He is who he is. His whole story arc is fantastic. He's got a child now in the future. He's married to Pepper Potts. He just says, like, listen, I lost people, but listen, I found something good here, and I don't want to risk this on some foolish thing that might sacrifice both things. And his balking at the attempt to go back in time and change a bunch of stuff kind of felt real, and I understood that aspect of it. And that was well realized. And then also the fact that he looks at Peter Parker and Spider-Man's picture, and he was like, he knew he let him down, and so that brought him there. And I kind of liked that whole sequence. And him again going through and trying to find the solution, which was a bit quick in my mind. But again, it's a 3-hour long movie. We don't want to sit Iron Man going through that all over for 5 hours. just get it done. The Hulk. The Professor Hulk was funny. I actually like Professor Hulk. My only problem was that his story arc. Hey, Opinion, how's it going? How's Pittsburgh? Professor Hulk. So his whole arc, or the Hulk's arc, I think, was the only one that I didn't like. Grievances. Reimagining Star Wars says your grievances. Thor's power level. Captain Marvel is more powerful than Thor. Take consciousness, Pym's particles for Thanos. Iron Infinity Gauntlet. Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, conscious Pym's particles, and Thanos. Iron Infinity War Gauntlet. Yeah, Thor's whole power level is all over the place in this movie. He's more powerful that he takes he takes a hit from the sun full and then survives it, and then somehow he doesn't seem to be as powerful enough to fight Thor to fight Thor. To fight what's his name without the gauntlet, and I think he should have handled him pretty easily with his axe. And especially with the lightning and stuff, he doesn't use his lightning even half as much as he should. Like he shouldn't even have to actually fight him. He should just. But to be honest, if we're going to nitpick and everybody, the most powerful person here, and I'm not even talking about Captain Marvel, the most powerful being is Scarlet Witch, Thanos. The most powerful being is Scarlet Witch, and in the comics, she actually does nearly rip him apart, because she is probably the most powerful character. She's really, really powerful. And when I saw her, even I even said that in Infinity War, that she wouldn't have to sit there and beg, to keep him alive or any of that. She could have just handled Thanos by herself. She's that powerful. And then she proves it when she just almost nearly destroys him on her own in this movie. And I actually like that moment. And this is the funny part, is like, for those who think, oh, you don't like her because she's a woman, I keep thinking that Scarlet Witch is she's done so horribly in these movies, because she's got such a great story. And I think that even her powers are underused in this universe, because she's really powerful. Did they bring everyone back? Was your theory right about Captain Marvel reversing time? No, I was absolutely wrong. In fact, everybody was wrong about Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel was in this movie for a total of 5 minutes, I think. she was in this movie for a total of 5 minutes, and like we said before, she was kind of used as what do you call it, like a special move in a video game, like we were saying, anytime they needed to clean out a bit of the board, we just press the special combo, and then she comes in, Captain Marvel time, and just destroy half the board and then leave again. It's pretty much how she was used. Um, um, yeah, well, yeah, she didn't help the movie, but the times when she was on screen though was very obnoxious. I will say that there's a moment that I don't know, reimagining Star Wars. You can agree with me on this probably, where she actually grabs the arm of Thanos and starts opening up his hand, and then Thanos headbutts her, which I don't mind that it didn't hurt her. What bothers me is that her head didn't move at all. It was just like this is her expression the whole time. Like like, dude, at least show that his strength is enough to like push you. I mean, if he can't even push you with his strength, then why don't you just beat him by yourself? What's this whole charade about? It doesn't even make sense. Um, Opinion. Wait, so everyone who turned to dust is still gone? No, no, no. And that was a very awesome moment too when they do come back, and it was really well earned. Um, the way they brought them back was fantastic, and it felt so like because they I don't want to ruin this movie for you because well, I'm gonna have to ruin this movie for you because I said spoilers. So, um, but basically, in this movie, that moment was to me that was like the best moment in this entire movie was when after that moment where you see good so then I can spoil it for you. So when you actually see what do you call it, Thanos almost being ripped apart, he orders his ship which is in orbit to shoot down, like, just completely just devastate the area, and that kind of like gets everybody off balance, and then unloads, I think, like just hordes of people off the ship. And actually, no, sorry, that's not then. There was a moment where hordes of people get off of like creatures and monsters get off the ship, and it just becomes an army of just creatures against these like beaten down Avengers, and they were like, like you was almost like this is it, it's done here, and then all of a sudden, they all come back, and that was a great moment. They come back because after they got the stones from going back in time. Again, I have to tell you the whole plot because you didn't see it, opinion. And I said I wasn't going to say the damn plot, but now I have to. So at some point, they do a Back to the Future, and they have to get the stones from all these different timelines, come back to their normal timeline, make a glove, and then snap people back the way he snapped them away. And they succeeded in that. The Hulk had to do it because he's the only one strong enough to, and he burnt off his arm doing it. But they didn't come back right away. They had to actually, Thanos comes down and they actually fight him again. And this time, it was a really epic battle. But just when it seemed like times like they were just overwhelmed and they were about to lose, you see the rings from what's his name, Doctor Strange, and then all the entire like freaking 10 years of Marvel movies, like superheroes just come flooding into those rings, and they all came back, and it was just such a great moment because all of them just coming in, it was like an army of superheroes versus an army of Thanos villains, and that's the thing too, that whole epic, that scene was a bit chaotic and it was just all over the place, and I'm just like, what am I here to see? Because just that became a bit too much and overwhelming for me. Another gripe, guys, I'm going to say another gripe. And you're going to agree with me on this. I swear to God, you're going to agree on this, reimagining Star Wars for sure. The girl power moment. Oh my God. So we got thousands and thousands of people fighting in this war. But somehow in this epic battle, all the cast, the female cast, just managed to congregate in one moment, in one spot at the same time, just so they could go da 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 charge. And it was just like, oh, really? We're doing this here. We're doing this now. And it really bothered me because I'm just like, ugh. It bothered me, but not enough because it didn't last long, thankfully. Because I was like, please don't defeat Thanos. Please don't defeat Thanos. Because if this happens, I was walking out. I was like, really? We're going to do this here where all the girls need girl power. Screw the fact that we're here fighting for our lives. What's really important is that we're women and we're here together and we're fighting together. I just like, come on, man. And so, yeah, it was kind of that, but that didn't last long, thankfully. Is anyone making, so Opinions, is anyone making a video about that? Seems when Marvel does that crap, it gets forgiven more. Yeah. So that's another one. Black Widow wasn't there. No, I don't know if anyone's made a video about that. Probably will. Someone will. I've seen people mention it. It wasn't long, so thankfully, it was just sort of like you can get over it fast because it was just like, okay, they got their little, you know, their little what do you call it, Spice Girls moment out of the way. Now let's move on. let's now move on. Like they moved on from there, so it was good. Black Widow wasn't there. I won't tell you why, but yeah, well, oh, that's another sequence too that I really enjoyed. It was a bit of a like, like that moment where they had to sacrifice themselves. She had to sacrifice herself to get the stone, and their battle between Hawkeye and her. They were actually fighting to see who got to sacrifice themselves. It was a really fun, a great moment. Um, yeah, well, those kind of things take you out of the movie. That's the whole thing of this. It's like every time Captain Marvel's there, it takes you out of the movie. I'll defeat him myself, she says. Like, ugh, then go. I would have said go. Just go. Leave. We really didn't need you. Just go do it and then tell us how it goes. So yeah, her whole she didn't even really need to be in this movie. She does one thing heroic that I really was like, and that was when she comes in. Well, two things. She saves Iron Man, ex machina style, and then she destroys the ship which was bombarding them, another ex machina style. So she does two ex machina things, and then then she gets shot and then leaves and then says, "All right, I'm done." And I don't know what happened to her after that. It's just she quit. She went back to her home world. Screw this! I'm gonna see some Skrulls. But yeah, she wasn't the worst thing in the movie, and that was thankful. She wasn't the worst thing. So, and there was very little bad in this movie. To be honest with you, Iron Man sacrifices himself to kill Thanos, which was to me a good moment. Although I kept wondering if he could have taken those stones. Why did he wait? Why didn't they do that in the first time? Like they had his hand, they had the glove almost up. Why didn't they just take the stones off his hand that time too? If it was just so easy, because in this movie, and then he kind of grabs it and like pickpockets the stones, which I get it because they're probably the same technology, his glove and the glove that he was wearing, because Tony made the new glove. So I can understand that like maybe the particles were attached, but I just felt if it was that easy to take the stones, they could have found a way. Doctor Strange or whatever could have found a way to take the stones in the first movie. But again, little gripes. Well, okay, I'm going to get to that. To that thing after, because here's the thing. I said this about this movie. Tony Stark's sacrifice, which was an epic, and Tony Stark's his whole story arc of his character is realized. He becomes a better person. He becomes a family man. He makes up with his father. Like he gets his hero death. He gets his hero death, and he gets an awesome funeral sequence. And even if you caught that, I don't know if you guys caught that, but there was a little boy in the background. That was the boy from the third movie, a little bit grown up. If you didn't, third Iron Man movie. I didn't know that. I saw somebody's review and they mentioned it. And again, you had Captain Marvel standing there, not knowing how to react to anything. But it was a great moment, and that funeral was really, really hard. Hard, I mean, like, it was really heartfelt, and it was epic. A good way to end his character. As an adult, I thought, wow, that's awesome ending for Iron Man. A very powerful ending for the MCU. And it was, and it made for a very epic movie. But the kid in me, the little boy that's 6, 7, watching superheroes, would have been devastated. Because, and this is where I want Marvel to understand this shit. I don't give a crap about Robert Downey Jr. and his wanting to quit the Stan universe. We had many Batmans quit. We had many Batmans fired. We had Supermans quit and fired. So we could, and guess what happened? Nothing. The character lived on without them. We don't need the actors. Yes, Robert Downey Jr. was fantastic. Yes, he did good. But I'm sure if they looked hard enough, they could find a replacement. And I think that for me, killing a superhero character is a no-no. And not because of an adult. As an adult, I don't care. because as an adult, I'm okay with it because I'm an adult. But as a child, because what this is primarily what these movies are for. They're for your kid. They're for the little boy, the little girl who's sitting in the theater who are watching it, going, "These are my heroes." So we build up these heroes. It's like, again, I'm going to go back to Captain Marvel. So all these little girls who are now being built to love this whatever, whether you hate her or don't or love her, it doesn't make a difference for this argument. You're building her up to be this epic person that's supposed to guide your life. And it's kind of like your parental figure, right? Because we need these superheroes to show us the light and show us the way. And they do that, and then they kill them. And it's like, basically, you just killed the parent of this child. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? It's heart-wrenching. They never killed He-Man when I was a kid. They never killed Superman when I was a kid. They never killed any Spider-Man when I was a kid. They never killed any of these characters. But you see, these cynical teenagers, later older teenagers, and cynical adults look at these movies and they're like, "That's epic. That's awesome. Wow, that's great." And that part of me is like, yeah, it makes a great movie. But then you forget that there's a little child in that audience that is also watching this movie, and this movie should be for her and him as well. And he's watching that going, "I'll never watch another Marvel movie. It's just, you betrayed me." They did that to me with Optimus Prime. I don't know if you guys remember that in the 80s when we went to go watch the Transformers movie, and then the first act they killed your hero, your favorite Transformer. They just killed him. Well, yeah, that's the thing. We become programmed through Game of Thrones and these shows, which are targeted for adults. They're not targeted for kids. So it's okay. Adults are grown-ups. We can handle these mature topics, and that's fine. But a little kid doesn't understand that. And when we make movies like this and we talk about how they're supposed to be for adults and kids, to end Iron Man, to kill Iron Man, who is not dead in the comics, for one thing. He's not dead. He's died a couple of times, but guess what? He comes back. This is a finale. This sort of seems like a finality to this character, because the actor doesn't want to do it anymore. Well, screw him. Like, I like Robert Downey Jr. He's a great actor, but he doesn't own Iron Man. He doesn't own Iron Man. Well, yeah. Well, Game of Thrones has its good and its bad. I have my issues with what's his face, R.R. Martin. I think he's a prick. Like, I think he's actually worse of a prick than what's his name. That's the opinion says that's the irony. That's the other irony. They want the Game of Thrones guys to make the Star Wars trilogy and will quintessentially not be a Star Wars anymore. I hate all that shit. Well, the thing is, you have to understand, though, the guys who are making Game of Thrones now aren't the guys who actually wrote Game of Thrones, because it was George R.R. Martin's vision of Game of Thrones that originally started it, and that was a very nihilistic and depressing Game of Thrones. Ever since these new guys took over Game of Thrones, it's been a lot better, in my opinion. It's been a lot more optimistic than it used to be. But the thing is like, George R.R. Martin was the type of guy that I even read him read he said that he goes on Game of Thrones, like those theory channels, those theory like chat in on Reddit and stuff, and he would actually read what they were looking for in their next book and what they wanted to see and what people wanted, and he actually did the opposite of what they wanted, just because, you know, subvert expectations. He never gave them what they wanted. He goes, he even said this publicly: if they wanted me to the guy to live, I had to kill that guy, because he's just, you could tell he's a prick. Well, Game of Thrones, again, I don't know what these guys are capable of outside of Game of Thrones, so we'll give them a little bit of credit because they're sort of feeding off the legacy that was done by other people. So we'll see if these guys are good enough for that. But yeah, but I know what you're saying. They're living off the names of these characters. I mean, wasn't Tyrion Lannister in the last movie? I still think Tyrion would have been a great Iron Man. I still want to see. Just, can you imagine? We talk about how many times have we said that there's not enough representation in these movies? Well, how awesome would it be if they just seamlessly did this? If they seamlessly actually just, they didn't kill Iron Man at the end of this movie, And then just the next Avengers movie, they just replaced Robert Downey Jr. with what's his name, Peter Dinklage, and just had him be, and just like nobody even talks about that he's a little person. He just the elephant in the room, and then just like he just walks in and he's small, and they're just like talking to him like nothing happened. He's not changed or anything. It just would be fantastic. I just love to see that sort of stuff happen. It will never happen, but I just think it would be awesome. One of my biggest issues, also, because it is a personal thing for me personally. That makes it personal thing because it's for me personally. Spider-Man. And I'm going to say this. I don't care what anybody says. I hate, I despise this new Spider-Man. Don't care what anybody says. I don't care. People could say Tom Holland is wonderful and they want to have his kids. I don't care. Because for me, I don't like, and that's not Tom Holland's fault. Tom Holland does a fantastic job. He does a good job. It's not his fault why Spider-Man is not good, in my opinion. As a Spider-Man fan, as a guy who has every freaking comic Spider-Man, who's got multiple figures, I love Spider-Man. He's my favorite hero. They did Spider-Man so wrong in this, and that's because he became a Marvel entity. And in order to make him a Marvel entity, they deconstructed him and they made him this whiny millennial baby who does nothing but ask for people's approval every 2 seconds. Can you like me? I'm Spider-Man. Oh, look, hi, I'm Spider-Man. Hey, I'm Peter Parker. Oh my God, am I falling all over myself again? Oh my God, hi. Like, he's just, what is this? Who is this kid? Peter Parker was Peter Parker when and he had his issues, but when he was Spider-Man, he was Spider-Man. He didn't act like a baby. He didn't act like a little kid when he was in the mask. He didn't act like that. In fact, no one knew he was a kid. There's no way you can't tell that Peter Parker is a child in when he puts on the mask. That's why they called him Spider-Man, because no one knew that it was a child. But the way he acts, even with the mask, he still acts like a little juvenile delinquent, like running around looking for, hi, I'm Spider-Man. Hi, I'm Peter. Hi. Like, what's going on here? And also, they make him far too reliant on that stupid Iron Spider costume, which again was created by someone else. And it's another. Sorry, I know it's cut out a couple of times. Which was created by someone else. Oh shit. He himself didn't even make his own suit, which bothers me. I don't know what my feed is starting to break up a little. Is it the internet?
Is it me internet? Is it going all wonky pew pew?
So in the Homecoming, what bothers me was that Spider-Man makes his own suit. Okay, he's intelligent, he's smart. Listen, I've seen a lot of people online make some fantastic cosplay. Make some fantastic cosplay outfits, and so I'm pretty sure that Peter Parker, genius level kid, probably could do some amazing stuff. With his powers and with his genius level acumen to make himself a suit. And even the design, see, what gets me the most is not even whether it's the fiber or whatever. You could have made it a rudimentary look, but the look has to belong to Spider-Man. Like, the look had to be, he should have at least designed the look, the traditional mask, the way it looks should have been his own design, not Tony Stark's design. And then they give him all this technology, which then makes him reliant on that technology. Hey, Sean DeSilvera, how's it going, buddy? I agree with that. Spider-Man was one of the most important Avengers in the comics, and in the Endgame was hardly a superhero. No, he was like a bumbling fool. He did a couple of cool things with Thor's hammer, but in the end, he was again like a little child who seemed out of place where he was. He's one of the most powerful, and he doesn't use his strength. He doesn't use his strength he uses his intelligence most of the time to get out of things, and he doesn't act like a bumbling fool, and is again constantly getting cold cocked. I can't stand it. They constantly have these moments where he gets shot like out of the blue, or like because it's like, do they not know about his spider senses? Like he knows when things happen like a second before it happens, and he doesn't even, he just reacts to it, but he's constantly cold cocked all the time out of the blue, which bothers me. And I'm a person, that's my personal thing, is I love Spider-Man, and to see him constantly bumble around and ask for approval, and I almost felt embarrassed for him in this movie, and I felt like, could you have just stayed home, because you're embarrassing yourself, kid? You shouldn't have been here. And that's sort of how I felt about Spider-Man in this. He saves a few people, but for most of it, again, the only good thing he does in this movie, it's all based on Tony Stark's suit. You know, when he goes the kill switch, remember, and then the tentacle, or the legs of the suit start going on their own automatically. And I felt, again, you're taking away Spider-Man's actual power and Spider-Man's actual contribution and giving it to Tony Stark again. Tony Stark should have just made a spider suit and given it to another kid. Then they shouldn't have even bothered with having Peter Parker in it, because what he's doing has nothing to do with his own power. Anyway, that's my minor rant. You know, I'm seeing myself do this a lot, and I feel like I'm a monkey. Yeah, Hulk again. Hulk didn't get his. I think, again, my biggest issue with him was that he did not get. They set up the fact that he was traumatized by the beating he got, and I would have liked to have seen his character um, stand toe to toe with Thanos, so that he could get back his confidence. Because I felt like that was a problem where he was sort of, they kind of built this whole thing where he was afraid of Thanos and he didn't want to come out. And I felt like that they should have realized, where in this movie he gets his, he has his second chance against Thanos and stands toe to toe with him. And I thought that would have been a great moment for him. But they didn't do that, and that kind of was a bit disappointed with that one. Sean says, I was expecting Hulk to have epic battle. Yeah, exactly. That's what I just said. I think he should have had that epic battle, and it would have been a nice finishing to his, what they started off with his story in Infinity War, because I think that they kind of set him up to be sort of traumatized by that defeat. He's never faced a defeat like that before, so it felt like, he didn't want to come out because he was afraid, and him facing his fears to face Thanos would have been a great way to, for his story arc to go. What else? What else? What else? There's I feel like I said, most of this movie was really fantastic and great. But going forward now, because we've seen this thing going forward in the MCU, I have to say, what is left? Captain America gives his shield to the Falcon, which he does in the comics as well. He becomes Captain America Falcon thing. I don't know. I guess he's going to use both of them. Does he come back? I don't know. Captain America is another one that they turned old. He goes back in time. He has a nice moment where he goes back in time using the time machine that he's supposed to, which was to me a little bit of a weird thing, because they put back the stones, because the whole thing is they got the stones from around time to use against to bring people back, but then they had to put the stones back in time in their timelines, which to me is kind of like, so now you're just dooming them to Thanos' wrath by putting them back. But whatever. Minor issue. Then so Captain America then has to go back in time and put them back. He decides at one point to stay with Peggy Carter in the 70s, I believe, and they have their little dance moment, and he just decides to have a life with her that he didn't have, and then he grows old and doesn't come back in time. And then they see this a nice moment where you see him on the park bench at the exact same time, kind of like Back to the Future, which they mentioned 1,000 times in this movie, by the way, which is my favorite movie, and I didn't care for how they were treating it. So he, what do you call it? So he's old. He's an old man now because he lived his whole lifespan there. And then he hands the shield, and I guess he's off to retirement now. Which again, I whatever. Again, it comes down to the actor not wanting to do it anymore, possibly. Yeah, well, yeah, Falcon needs a super serum. I don't like him with the shield. They should give the shield to another character, um, and make. But I really don't care. And here's the thing, going forward, and this is I'm going to stress this. This was a finality for me. Um, I don't care going forward anymore. There's nobody for me to like. The characters I liked are gone. I'm talking about the Avengers. Thor is the only character that remains that I actually, well, him and Doctor Strange. But Doctor Strange can't carry this alone. Um, the only people I care about was Thor and I guess Doctor Strange. And that's it. Thor is now Guardians of the Galaxy because he went on the ship with the Guardians of the Galaxy and they took off. So he's no longer an Avenger. He's a Guardians of the Galaxy person. The rest are just sort of the leftovers, the people who nobody really cares about, the people whose stories weren't really fulfilled, and we just they're not they're not they're not like A class level heroes. We're left with Falcon. We're left with War Machine. We're left with Captain Flatface. Um, we're left with uh, Brainiac Hulk with a gimpy arm. we're left with we're left with really nobody that you want to watch, other than for me, I guess Doctor Strange, who I thought was pretty good in this. And I just don't see anything going forward that I'm interested in. They talk about, oh, we're gonna have an all female cast, and people are gonna get all uproar about that. And I'll be like, whatever, do what you want now. I just don't care. I got my movies. I'm done. So John says, I'm curious about what Captain America did with the hammer of oh yeah, that's true. When he went back in time. That is an interesting one. What did he do with the hammer? Oh yeah, that's another moment. See, thanks for reminding me, by the way. That was a great moment. It was a callback to Age of Ultron when he wields Thor's hammer, which he got by going back in time to see his mother, which was a good scene. And then sort of good and bad because it's just hard to watch blubbering Thor. But anyway, when he does, you could have the little one. I love that when when Thor hands Captain America grabs Thor's hammer, which shows that he was worthy. Which we all saw him kind of move a little bit, and so now he finally is ready to use it, and he was badass with it. So I thought that was awesome. Um, I thought that him using lightning though was stupid because remember Asgard. What do you call it? The last movie when Thor's father says, "You're not the god of hammers, you're the god of thunder." And so I can see him using the hammer, but to actually use thunder was stupid because thunder doesn't come from the hammer. Thunder, they actually made it that thunder comes from Thor himself because he uses it without the hammer. So he's the god of thunder. And I thought that was again kind of weird that he's wielding, lightning out of his hand when he shouldn't. Asgard when he returns the ether. Yeah. And that's another thing too. He doesn't really need the Rainbow Bridge anymore because his what's it called? That axe he's got. What's it called? The axe. It actually has a bridge now he can take anywhere. So I mean, he doesn't really even need a ship. I feel going forward though, there's very little interest in going in this cinematic universe. They killed, like I said, they shouldn't have killed. While I understand why they did it, I understand the finality of it, and yes, it was a great moment. I don't like killing heroes because you're still little kids that need to watch this, and it's unfair to them. And that's their favorite hero, and and I thought that Stormbringer, I thought that was awesome. That he keeps Stormbringer. I actually thought at some point that Stormbringer was not going to be when he got the hammer. I thought he was going to abandon Stormbringer, but I'm like, no, I liked Stormbringer, man. It was awesome. Was it Stormbringer or Stormbreaker? I can't remember. But Guardians of the Galaxy, I still kind of like going forward. So I think I will probably have interest in Guardians of the Galaxy, just because I like Thor and I like the connection they have. But the MCU is dead for me. I just don't see anybody unless they pull something out of the hat that I just don't. Well, the only thing that I could see bringing me back to the MCU is what they do with the what they do with the X-Men, and then what they do with the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four is a huge deal. People don't think it is, but it's way bigger than even the X-Men because the X-Men is a major deal. But bringing in Fantastic Four is huge because most of the major villains, um, from that's why they have such a problem with villains in the MCU, because most of the major villains belong to the Fantastic Four universe. And when you're talking about major, like, heavyweights, people think Thanos is the major heavyweight. He isn't. Wait till they bring Galactus, the eater of worlds, the guy who doesn't even need to step on the planet to beat him. He just has the guy who thinks, he just thinks so different that, he just eats your planet because he's hungry, and he doesn't even care about. He just thinks of us like ants. We're not even anything to him. Um, Plus, Doctor, what's his name? Reimagining Star Wars said should have needed Nederville for the gauntlet. What is that? Ned Valier for the needed Ned Valier. I don't know what Ned Valier is for the gauntlet. Oh, I know what you're saying. Sorry. Yeah, it took a while for me to figure it out. Yes, that's another one. Another plot hole thing is that they made this big deal about the stones having to be made out of specific material on that planet where he got Stormbringer, and then Tony Stark just makes one in his lab in 5 minutes. He's like, there you go. We didn't need all that. Which makes me wonder why Tony Stark didn't just make Stormbringer too, because apparently he's just all knowing and all intelligent for everything. Again, a lot of these moments had to sort of happen for this thing to go. So you can't ask too many questions. Like I said, there's just so much stuff that happens. I thought they could have even gotten around that had they actually brought the glove back, the actual glove, Thanos's glove, because they cut off his head. They could have brought his glove without the stones. They could have brought that back, and then they just could have repaired it or something. At least that would have made a little more sense. But they didn't do that, so whatever. They went with Tony Stark's nanotech glove instead, which was weird, but they did it. We could nitpick at those little things, but there was still so much really awesome moments in this movie. It felt like a Seinfeld episode, the finale, where it was just, we got all these things we want to do. We got to say goodbye to all these characters. Let's just bring them in one at a time. And they brought us some really good action. My fear is going forward, I don't see this. I see the MCU is gonna go down. I don't see it surviving with the characters they have left. I think they will probably fish what's his name out of retirement, Robert Downey Jr. Then there's the one on Asgard, but Asgard's gone, right? But they still have time travel, and that's another thing, because they opened up a can of worms with time travel. Because now that time travel exists, all bets are off. They could do pretty much whatever they want. Once they brought time travel into this world, I feel like you could do anything now. You can't really. How can you stop anything from happening with time travel? You can go back and bring Tony back. You do anything now. Well, Disney's not the one with vision. They're just the ones they just have Mickey Mouse sitting in his chair like Thanos going, "Oh, you guys go bring me some money," and then sends his minions out to do it. Until one day Disney has enough and just says, "Oh, I'm going to do it myself," which isn't going to happen. Reimagining Star Wars says, if they took it when they got there, yeah. Well, if they took it, that's the thing. Did they take it? I don't even know. They were they were so depressed afterwards. He was like, "Oh well, we got his head." But no, Disney's doesn't have vision. They just send people to do the work for them. And the people, like Kevin Feige, is the one with the vision. And so he's the one who made this happen. And I think he's also the one who's going to ruin it, because he's also the one talking about, we're going to have a feminine future of, so like, hey, you want to have the feminine future? Go ahead. My hope is that, Warner Brothers wakes up and makes theirs better, so we can still go see that side now. We'll just tilt to the other side. Again, I'm interested to know what they're going to do with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Silver Surfer introduction into probably the Guardians of the Galaxy, because I don't see Silver Surfer, because now he belongs to Fox. Sorry, he belonged to Fox, and now he belongs to Disney. So they could use the Silver Surfer, which would have been really handy against Thanos, by the way. I think Silver Surfer would have been really handy against Thanos. But going forward, I like to see what he's done. They're going to do with him, and Wolverine as the only two characters I really want to know, and Deadpool because I really hope Deadpool shows up. Um, Chekhov's gun, good Chekhov's gun. What's Chekhov's gun? Is that's Star Trek, right? Chekhov? I don't know what Chekhov is. Um, good Chekhov's gun. Reimagining Star Wars. You have to explain that. It's 1:45 in the morning here. My brain can't understand everything. Yeah, what do you guys think though? Like, what do you guys think? You guys actually are you like, is this it? You guys done with Marvel now? Like, or do you feel like this is a good conclusion? Let's move on. They killed Wolverine in the last. Well, Wolverine, they're probably going to reboot him, right, Sean? Because, um, um, because they have to bring him back somehow. My hope is that they bring him back with the actual outfit and not just the guy in a tank top. You know, just with weird hair. I just hope they actually do him. You know, I liked Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, but I always wished he had his costume. And from what I heard, he just looked weird with the costume, so that's why they never put it on. Yeah, you have kids, right? So you're not done. I know it's hard when you got kids. So, and you got a little girl, so she definitely wants to see, the female uh, MCU. Which here's the thing, because I really actually got to like the Scarlet Witch through these movies, the last two movies, and I sort of feel like now from what I'm hearing, they're taking her out of the Avengers and giving her own series, which I feel like I'd rather see her in the movie than the series, but whatever. And isn't the Black Widow supposed to get her own movie? I mean, they killed her off, so I don't know how they're going to bring her back. I don't even know if they're going to do that, but I heard they were going to make her own movie, so I don't know. I don't know how that's going to happen. But that being said, I just the Fantastic Four are not good enough for me to actually go see it. They're not I'm the biggest Fantastic Four fan. Although I do like it's clobbering time. I like the thing. Um, prequels. No more prequels, please. um, yeah, they are making her movie, but she dies in this movie, so I don't understand how they're bringing. And remember, they said it was final. It was the finale. She can't come back. They're probably gonna have to do some Ragnarok stuff, or they have to go into like the dead world and go and get her or something, which might be in a movie all in itself. Ronan will get him, which is Hawkeye. We'll get her. That'll be probably an interesting movie. I don't know. Probably won't see it. I'll wait till it comes out on Netflix. Um, but like I said, I'm kind of the only thing I'm really interested in is to see how they treat the X-Men into this universe. Spider-Man, until he grows up and becomes a man, I'm not interested because I'm tired of seeing Spider-Boy. I'm tired of seeing Spider-Kid blubbering around people. 991 stupid. Hey, how you doing? 91 stupid. Instead of exploring Godfather Thor, they made him fat, depressed, drunk during the fight and play in Fortnite. Yeah, that was disappointing. I agree with you on that. What was once the one shot Thor, he couldn't even get Thanos by himself with both hammers, and that was without the Infinity Stones. Remember that, because he had the Infinity Stones the last time. This time he didn't even have the Infinity Stones and he couldn't do it. Again, he couldn't have had it end that fast. So, and remember, but the last time it was sort of a surprise, right? He was a surprise attack from the sky. Thanos didn't see him coming. This time he sees him coming. He probably, if he had landed Stormbringer, if he had landed Stormbringer to his head, it would have exploded him for sure. But he's also not a post, so he's going to fight back. So you could sort of explain it that way. Again, you have to have a movie. it can't end that easily. So they have to have these things. That's what I mean. It's not a perfect movie. It's impossible to make everything cohesive. I'm not a big fan of Fat Thor. I wish they didn't do him like that. Again, I always thought that it was like making him depressed is one thing, but he's a god, and I just don't see a god becoming fat. Just like I don't see a god dying in space. I don't see a god, you know what I mean? I don't see a god becoming weak because he's a god. So if he can do all those things, for him being fat, I mean, what is he eating to get that big? And he was used to eat and drink a lot anyway. Thanos shot him with a gauntlet. Yeah, but I feel like in Infinity War, yeah, he did shoot him with the gauntlet. You're right, and then he came down with Stormbringer, and then he actually cut through it, right? With Stormbringer, even with the shot, and then pulverized right through. But this one was more of a hand-to-hand combat move, where it was like he came down striking, and then he just sort of blocked it, wasn't it? Like he blocked the shot. So you can have a great weapon. I mean, even if you look, if a guy comes at me with a knife, well, you know, if he actually lands the knife, I'm going to get stabbed. But if he doesn't land the knife and I grab his arm and have actually no self-defense and disarm him, well, then, I can actually beat him. So just because you have the knife doesn't necessarily mean you're always going to land your shot. So I think on that standpoint, when I saw the actual fight, it was more like he's coming down and then because I think Thanos was also surprised. He didn't realize he was that. And he didn't know what he was attacking him with. Well, he didn't know in this one either, to be honest. To me, it was more. My question is, why didn't he use lightning? They should have just pummeled him with lightning the whole time. Just kept shooting at him. Like I never understood. Everyone has to fight. It was all punching Thanos. Why are you punching him? There's range weapons, man. There's range weapons. You don't get close to a guy that strong. Both hammers would have been GG dropped, tiny one in the chest, and well, yeah, we can come up with 1,000 reasons of how to break him. It would have been fun. We should just do that. We should have a whole live stream on how to beat Thanos. so Spider-Man gives him in the eyes. I liked that one from the first one, right? Where you can't see. Then you have what's his name's wrap him in the face, and then he's flailing around, doesn't know what he's doing, has to rip that off. And then you have what's her name, Scarlet Witch. Hold him in the air like that. And then you just have Thor with Stormbringer right through the crotch, up to the head, and split him into outward. That would have been more fun. And that would have been it. A job well done. Let's get some ale, boys. Yeah, he definitely should have tossed it. He did it the first time. And again, you're writing a movie and you have to prolong a scene. And that's pretty much what he did. It's hard. I mean, we could stand here and nitpick at those little things because we're not the Russo brothers with a cast of thousands of actors who all probably complaining.
Hi, I didn't get my screen time today. Why I was called in. Why didn't I get my? Oh, I don't want to wear my mask for this long. All this crap that they have to deal with on the side, and then you have, Coca-Cola going, we gave you this much money and we don't see our product enough. We got to put our product for 5 more seconds. There's just so much in these things that I can sort of forgive those minor infractions. See, for me, had Captain Marvel come in and just like stood there like that face. Remember that face she makes bothers me when she opens up his hand and then he headbutts her and she doesn't even budge. Like, come on, man. Like, at least make her like flinch and then stand tall. But no, she doesn't even budge. It was like boom, and she just was like you're punching cast iron. It was just so annoying. Odin says that Thor was stronger than him, and the Russos said that Thanos couldn't move because Asgard. You're right. That is another. You're right, 100% on that. Yep, you're right. There's just so much inconsistency with this, but at the same time, was it fun? Yeah, you're right. There was a lot of inconsistency. I 100% agree with you. There's a lot of weird things. I mean, I'm pretty sure Scarlet Witch could have beat him on his own. There's a lot of people that could have beat him. They could have. I mean, even Silver Surfer. I mean, they didn't have him, but I wish they did. He belongs in this universe, and he was actually in the original fight in the comics. Could have been in this. There's so many people that could have been doing more. Spider-Man, again, is my biggest disappointment. And Thor is stronger than Captain Marvel. Yes, he is actually. Captain Marvel in the comics is like a Green Lantern more than she is Superman. And that's what I think the whole thing is like. She was always strong, but she shoots concussive blasts. She's more like Green Lantern than than Superman, and that's sort of, I think, where they have the disconnect. But it was fun. They did justice for Iron Man and Cap. Again, yeah, he Iron Man's death had meaning, which is more than what I could say for what they did for Star Wars. But his death had meaning. His death had value, and in the end, I like the whole moment. To me, was a really good moment when Pepper Potts says, "You can rest, Tony." Because his whole thing was that he felt it was upon him to defend the world, and you kind of sense that in him too, that he couldn't rest because he felt like the defending the world was on his shoulders at all times, and he was obsessed with it. And for when she says, "Rest, Tony," we'll be fine. I thought that was a moment where I actually got choked up because he's a man who took this. It's like a man who takes on his whole family, like his family on his shoulders, and he defends his family to the very death, all the time, and he just won't allow himself to lose because he just can't afford to. And then when he finally does what he has to do to defend his family and his world that he loves so much, and is to have her say to him, "It's okay for you to rest. We'll be okay." I loved that. That was just that was I choked up. I almost teared. Actually, I think a couple of tears might have gone down. Um, I'm not ashamed to say it, but it was a great moment. But the time gap between the first minutes and when she finally showed up at the end could have been another separate movie. When she learned how to absorb the energy, maybe from the gauntlet. Um, yeah. Again, these are nitpick things. Separate movie, but then learned how to absorb the energy, maybe from the gauntlet. The weird thing is, like, they had the gauntlet, right? Well, they could have taken that gauntlet, um, and Hulk could have taken it and reversed time, like Thanos did. Remember when Thanos did that? When they killed Vision, and he just took the time stone and just reversed time for a couple of seconds. It could have maybe done that, brought him back, but again, it all comes down to we had to kill Tony Stark, and then what bugs me about that is, again, I still don't think you should kill superheroes. Um, I understand from a story perspective, it's important. I do understand from like a mature person's perspective, it makes for a better story. But from a kid's perspective and a child, which I believe these movies are for, you should never kill a hero. And if you wanted to get rid of Tony Stark, or you wanted to go, then have have him like go on a vacation for a couple of years and then come back, and just seamlessly with his new character. And then they'll be like, who's going to be the new Tony Stark? And that'll be a talking point. And then we'd all sit there and who should we cast? And I throw my hat in Peter Dinklage. Just had so much inconsistency. They had time for politics BS scenes, but not all. The father of Thor. Yeah, I know the politics stuff is annoying. That's why I can't go further though. You see, that's my biggest issue with this going future is that it's like that's where they're headed. So it's almost like I think we got the. I think I'm so forgiving because I expected worse in my mind with this political stuff, and I think the fact that it wasn't as bad as I had anticipated, I was sort of like, okay, I'm going to call this a win because this could have gone way worse. And so I feel like that's sort of where I am. Well, they can go anywhere over 4 million branches. Um, 4 million branches. What are you talking about? Well, they can go anywhere. 4 million branches remargining Star Wars. I don't understand that either. I don't know. My mind. I'm not getting that. 40 million branches. What are we talking about? Trees? Branches? I think that kids from Iron Man 3 showed up. He could have. Yeah, that was Iron Lad. That would be interesting. If you're talking about a Shazam like movie, because the kid was there, it would have been interesting. We already have Iron Lad. His name is Spider Man. That's the thing. They turned Spider Man into Iron Lad. That's my biggest problem with Spider Man in this universe. is that he's not Spider-Man, he's Iron Lad. Um, in the timeline. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you're talking about you're talking about the Infinity Stones and how they can go anywhere in 4 million branches. Um, so I don't know. Do you guys think? Would you think Wolverine? Do you think Wolverine will make an appearance in an Avengers next Avengers? I feel like that's the only thing. That's the only thing that I would ever be um, enticed to go back to, is if they did bring Wolverine and Deadpool. If Deadpool and Wolverine are in the next Avengers, I think I will go watch it. But other than those two in the Avengers, because um, I don't think I'll have any interest. If those two don't show up as Avengers, then I don't have any interest. In the comics, in the new Avengers in the comics, Wolverine is an Avenger. Deadpool is not, but I would like to see him there. I don't think he will, but I would like to see him there. Uh, who else is there? I think, excuse me, I think they asked Daredevil, but he doesn't actually doesn't actually join. Who else was there? I can't remember. I know the Sentry, but I don't even think they're going to use the Sentry. Anyway, there's Spider Girl, which they haven't even Spider Woman, sorry, Spider Woman, which they've never even introduced in this universe. Maybe they will. I don't know. Um, she looks hot in her costume, so they'll probably make her fat and ugly because they don't want a woman in these movies. I'm just saying they need to give Thor some justice in Guardians 3 or possibly another Thor movie. Um, here's my thing. Thor went for too long as a blubbering fool in this movie. I don't like how it took too long for him to come out of that drunken stupor he was in. I don't think Thor would have been taking that long to come out of it. It just sort of bothered me. The way his character was being portrayed for most of this movie did bother me. I felt like he was like, get out of that stupid like Lebowski you know what I mean? Like, it was like a running gag that just wouldn't end, and I felt like stop that nonsense. I'd like maybe okay in the first scene that he was there, but once he joins the team, make him join the team. He's still walking around with a bloody, drinking beer, and he's on a mission to save people, and he's more preoccupied with drinking beer. Oh, and the anxiety he gets. Oh my God, I got anxiety. Oh, Thor with anxiety gave me anxiety. We are going to find a new branch. We'll now have mutants. Yeah, and that's the thing. A new branch will probably have mutants because they remember they and again, I don't know. They said it's going to be in the future, so I don't know how long in the future they're going to do with that. They made him another Drax. Drax was underused in these movies. Actually, I thought Drax was way underused. He was my favorite Guardian in the. He was my favorite in the Guardians of the Galaxy, the last movie, and they underused him a lot. The hammer was put back. Oh, so he put back the hammer. I guess he kind of had to, right? Because otherwise Thor wouldn't have had a hammer in that universe. Well, I thought so. Reimagining Star Wars says, well, I thought it was going to pass the hammer to Valkyrie. Well, even if he did pass the hammer to Valkyrie, she would have to be worthy to use it, and I'm pretty sure she wouldn't be worthy. Otherwise, you could just pass it to anybody. And I think it would have, if he just handed it to her and say, here, take it. And then she just holds it like, yay, I'm worthy. I think if she does ever wield the hammer, she'd have to earn it, in my opinion. You had like Captain America earned it over these years. She's just a newcomer into the universe with one like movie, and to just have her hand over the Thor to her, I wouldn't have liked it. Metaphorically, you said. Yeah, he hands it to her, and she's the queen, and I like her actually. And when she's riding the Pegasus, that was pretty cool. And Spider-Man was flying by like with it. That was again. He's like, "Whoa, look at me!" I was just, I'm sorry. I know I'm going back to Spider-Man all the time because he is my favorite, and I just don't like how they portrayed him. He's such a fool in this movie. I kept saying, "Shut your mouth, you're a fool." I was just so disappointed they didn't explore what Odin was talking about when they said he was going to be stronger, and gonna make him an OP character's female. So R.I.P. Thor. Yeah, and it's kind of good that he's on the Guardians of the Galaxy. Um, Again, that's another thing that I'm telling you, that I'm saying, going forward in this universe, the fact that they're going female isn't the problem. Going female or having more like 50-50 female men, that's not the problem. The problem is that in order for some reason, Hollywood can't seem to grasp the fact that you can boost women and men at the same time. You can't have you can never have one high and drop the other low. It's always got to be one high and one low. You can never have both good at the same time. You can't have Thor really powerful and Captain Marvel powerful. Somehow, like, they never said who's the strongest Avenger. Remember, it was that running thing between Hulk and Thor where they kept trying to feud each other to see who was the most powerful, and we never really knew who was the most powerful. Even when they fought at the end, we still kind of didn't even know who was most powerful. And then, but this one, it's like right away, we're calling it. Captain Marvel is. Why? What's the need? Why can't we even have that little feud between Captain Marvel and Thor? And even the Hulk have a three-way feud for who's the most powerful. Isn't that more interesting than her just prancing around, like, saying how powerful she is? Just drives me crazy. Thor should have stepped into his role. Yeah, I don't know. I think from what I gather from Chris Helmsworth is that he enjoys the comedy. And I think he might have even been responsible for it, to be honest. I think that they're giving him the run to be funny, and I think he likes the joke, and he likes the jokey joke stuff all the time. And I think if it was up to him, this whole movie, he even said it, the whole movie would be like his last Thor movie, like all jokes. So I don't think we want Chris Helmsworth's opinion on these movies, because I think he's too funny. I mean, he's trying too much to be funny all the time. And I think that he's probably the one who said, maybe I should be a drunken fool walking around because it gets laughs. So I don't know. I don't think I think he might have been the one responsible for that. Also, they need to bring back the tall building swinging from Spider-Man movies. Well, yeah, again, I might take some flack on this, but as much as I didn't like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, I actually liked how powerful they made Spider-Man in those movies. And like, they actually made him really amazing in in those movies. They used his, like, there was a few scenes where I remember there was one scene when Shocker or the Electro, he was going to electrocute the entire crowd, and he used almost stop time, like he saw everything happen in slow motion, where he used like his intelligence and his powers at the same time to rescue everybody in like that slow motion sequence. And there was so much where they used his powers to way he should be used. And I thought in that second movie, while I didn't like it, they actually made him use his powers in creative ways. And this one is just, again, he gets cold cocked all the time. He would have seen lightning strikes and he would have known it was coming. He wouldn't have been surprised by anything. He doesn't get punched out of the blue. It just doesn't happen. Anyway, they are legit forcing Captain Marvel up our asses. Yeah, I knew. I was feeling that this morning as I woke up in the morning, and I just felt a pinch somewhere in my sphincter, and I didn't know what it was. And then when I pulled it out, it just like, this face looked at me, this condescending blonde face. And I know it's true. They're legitimately forcing her down our throats, and we don't like her. And I'm not even saying Captain Marvel, the character, the actress. We don't like the actress. She's the one that they're forcing down our throats. She's the one she doesn't care about the character. And this is the one thing that bugs me, guys. She's the only person I know. See, when Gal Gadot was Wonder Woman, she was humble about being this character. She was like, I'm so proud to be Wonder Woman. I am so grateful to play the role of Wonder Woman, and I'm going to do my best to play the role of Wonder Woman. Brie Larson acts as though she invented Captain Marvel when she didn't. She wrote the movie where she didn't. She acts as though she's like, what did you do? Oh, I'm breaking the ceiling. I'm breaking the ceiling. You're not breaking nothing. You're not writing the movie. You're not directing the movie. you not funding the movie? What the hell are you doing other than reading your lines that are written to you in a paper and not doing a very good job of that? And also, you know, screwing up everybody. Cow Swatter says Brazil. Tu gostas do Brazil? Oh. See, I can speak Brazil. I can speak Portuguese. Pratinha. Cegueira Bala Pratinha. Who's that trio suite? Trios. Well, there's a lot of Brazilians here, I guess. By the way, my background's Portuguese, by the way. Hex Scarlet Witch is more likable, and hopefully she's stronger than her in the form. Hello. Yeah. Hey, Brazil. Yeah. Captain Marvel got a 27%. I saw that movie, and that movie was just bad. It was horrible. Okay, Reimagining said, thank you for watching and thank you for coming, bud. I really appreciate it. I don't know if it's really late where you are. I'm not sure the timeline difference, probably not too much, but it's probably really late where you are, and I know you gotta run, probably gotta go to work. So thanks for hanging in with me. This has actually gone on for really long. When did I even start this? I don't even know. Are you guys tired? You want me to stick around, or do you guys want to go to sleep? Because I'm all for that. I pretty much said everything I really need to say on this movie. The rest is just going to be kind of reimagining all the same stuff I've said. But I do want to do my whole thing on Spider-Man one day. Yeah, go to sleep opinion. Actually, I'm going to go too. So I'm just going to say my final farewells. All right, guys. So by the way, if you guys, anybody's watching this, go subscribe to Opinions channel. He's great. He's really fun. He's awesome. His videos are really awesome. Reimagining Star Wars. He and his daughter do some great videos there together. Stop yelling. Am I yelling? Okay, I will whisper now. But yeah, you guys go watch them. What's up, Arthur Boy? So guys, go check them out. Guys, Caio Soares from Brazil. Olá, como estás? Estás bom? Eu sei português. I don't know. This is my horrible Portuguese. I'm bad at it. I'm not very good. Anyways, I'm gonna go too because it's like 2:00 in the morning here. And thank you guys for watching. That's it. So till next time, guys. Good night and sleep tight. And don't let Thanos bite. Anytime, bud.